Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for joining the webinar today. On this segment, which I'll cover here, we will cover two pieces of information. We'll review two interesting pieces of PEMF research that are in the news. And then we'll also look to see how you effectively compare devices and are able to, cut through all the marketing aspects of it and really show the user, the customer, your potential patient or member, how you can see if this device or that device will meet your objectives for getting a PMF unit. There's a lot of great stuff going on with PMF. People are really taking a look at it to see how they can integrate it into a wellness routine. And they're even looking at it directly targeted within the home. In the first piece of information that they did on research regarding how you can utilize it in the home was in March of 2021, and it was from researchers at the Xavier University in Ohio. It was in Paris, in Thailand, and they wanted to see if PMF helped with aggravated inflammation. And their purpose of this research was really looking at the after effects of COVID and the inflammation that it produces and how they can help people, whether these patients are in the home or a hospital, how they can help them fight the exaggerated inflammation that is due to not only this virus, but many, many chronic conditions. So they really put some great information together and research to really open the door of how PMF can be a great complementary integrative therapy for everyone that can be used not only in the home, they're now investigating it within a hospital setting as well. This was done with a commercial setting type PMF applicator. So it wasn't one that you would buy on the open market, because they have to use specific parameters because they have to be able to control the environment. But what they found is that it was a very favorable treatment. It had no side effects, and that people who generally have aggravated conditions such as inflammation or high blood pressure really do see significant results based on those who are already in a state of health. So a lot of these conditions, the unifying feature is they all involve excessive inflammation. So if you can really stay on top of that with a home PMF unit, you can really help your body in the fight of all the different health challenges that it faces in this current environment. The other great area with this study is that they did not only investigate PMF, they investigated PMF with far infrared, infrared light actually. So PMF, red and infrared light, as well as static magnets and light therapy. So what they're finding, these researchers, are that a unit that can combine multiple energetic modalities, because these all provide different levels of stimulus that all work together to help with the objective. And the objective from this research was battling exaggerated inflammation. So red light is what they had used in here because it has been known since 1903, and there was actually a Nobel Prize given out for it, that human autoimmune diseases such as lupus vulgaris could be successfully treated and cured by the application of visible light. And they used, like I had stated, red light, and they had showed that red light helps exaggerated inflammation and or reduces inflammation, was these findings from these studies. So what I'm seeing, and all of these were done in 2021. So this is where we currently are in the PMF industry. And what I'm seeing is that many of them are now realizing that the body works with a combination of energies. If you look to nature to be your teacher, you can see that light signals to birds that it's time to migrate, and it turns on magnetic field compasses. Now, all of these things require signaling trigger to initiate those abilities. And they're finding out that it's not as simple as what's the frequency to do this. It is actually a combination, and the combination comes from harmonics. And what they're also seeing is a device that can produce multiple frequencies, because the unknown is we don't know what specific frequency does what. And theoretically, the research is showing it is not just a specific frequency, it's a combination of signaling that would achieve the effect. So what the research is showing is that a device that can do multiple frequencies during a therapeutic treatment provides a more statistical probability of achieving the ultimate goal. That is inducing eddy currents and creating induction within the body, which then all helps the body fight any type of exaggerated inflammation. And that is what these researchers are showing from Xavier University in Ohio, photobiology research group in Paris, France, and a science university in Thailand. So they all got together to research this. And this is what they had found, utilizing multiple modalities, seeing what was the most effective combination and how the body responded. Taking all of this into consideration, before we jump to the next piece of news and then the other presenters can go, I wanted to touch base on how you really do compare devices. Specifically, people always send websites or questions, or they heard this, that this person said, and that is great, but it's really all irrelevant, because what does matter is what the manufacturer says their intent of use is, and that intent of use had been accepted by the regulators and the proper authorities. So when you're looking at a device, you always want to, or if a customer, a patient, somebody comes to you and says, I heard this device, or how does it compare to that device? It's easily done. All you would need is the operator's guide, the manuals, because per regulation, they have to state the intent of use. So any type of comparison, you have to submit the operator's manual, or you need to have a operator's guide. The official manual directives that came with the device, because it will state everything you need to know on how to compare the device. So if somebody says, I hear the great research going on in Ohio and France with excessive inflammation, how do I know a PEMF device that I'm looking at will help me with that objective? And this is where you would begin. You would want to look at the intent of use. And again, that's found in all of the operator's guide, owner manuals, book of directives, whatever they would provide with the device. So one area I wanted to cover real quick is the difference between intended use and indication of use. And basically, intended use is what is the intended use of the device, and indications of use also put in the conditions or reason you would be using the device. So some will have an intended use and some will actually have an indication of use. And that is also due to how they are regulated by the authorities and the various approvals they have to treat different conditions and diseases. So I took snapshots of 3 different devices, all different regulatory classifications. Some you may already notice here is the IMRS 1. But when you look at the intended use, this is what the device does. With the IMRS 1 magnetic resonance stimulation system, weak pulsating electromagnetic fields are used to achieve various physiological processes in the body. And this occurs through the magnetic field pulses, and the strength of these magnetic field pulses is no stronger than the average magnetic flux density of the Earth's own magnetic field. So that's the intended use, because it tells you what the device does. And the possible applications are below. It can be used for different wellness purposes, palliative purposes, temporary relief of minor muscle aches, temporary increase of local blood circulation, and that is how a lot of the benefits of excessive inflammation are achieved. So until the device actually has an approval to treat excessive inflammation, you would really focus on the increased blood circulation as the direct cause of any type of benefits you would get from inflammation reduction. And many, if not all, PEMF devices do increase blood circulation, and that is due to the fact it's creating eddy currents and it is providing stimulus to the body, and the body responds in such favor. And then it also relaxes muscles locally. And this again is also attributed to the increased movement of the blood and the other fluids in the extracellular environment. So that is where the intended use is, and these are the possible applications. And so you can take a look at those possible applications, and so you cannot say that this device here, for example, treats or does anything with inflammation, but it is common knowledge that you may receive a benefit because it does increase local blood circulation. So those how that would be correlated and could be explained to someone who is really interested in improving their health, battling any type of preventative measures that could come from inflammation. Up on the upper right-hand corner here is a second intended use. This intended use is to temporarily increase local blood circulation in healthy leg muscles and to stimulate healthy muscles in order to improve and facilitate muscle performance. So this is really what the intended use, what an individual can market the device for, and how you would compare it. So if someone brought you these two devices and said, how do these two compare? This device over here temporarily increases local blood circulation in healthy leg muscles. This device over here temporarily increases local blood circulation. This device over here stimulates healthy muscles to improve and facilitate muscle performance. The first device we reviewed to relax muscles locally. Due to its classification, also can be stated that it will help to facilitate healthy muscle performance. So as you could see, these intended of uses, though they're different regulations, different classes, are very similar, and that is attributed to PEMF. It's energy. When you put energy into the body, you will get some type of reaction if you have the proper parameters. On the bottom right here is a snapshot of a third device, which again has a different classification from the other two we just discussed. And I had to chop them up a little bit because I did not want to get into names of the devices and all of that, because this is about education and making everyone a smarter PEMF user, customer, and educator. And we are heading into a more professional atmosphere. And to eliminate all the confusion, you can make a simple T-graph, put the device which you are presenting, get the operator's guide, owner's manual from the person who is asking you. A lot of times these are available on the website, and then you can do a comparison, look at the intent of use. And that is how you can then actually compare the devices and educate the consumer on what would be the best PEMF option for them. You would then be able to advise them that they're seeing a lot of combination energies used. That could also be something you would consider when advising a customer or a patient who is looking for a PEMF unit for particularly their home. So down here on the lower right, this one is for the treatment of non-union acquired secondary to trauma, excluding vertebrae where the width of the non-union defect is less than 1/2 the chat box is in the way, so I only have a little here. The bone to be treated, a non-union is considered to be established fracture site, so there's no visibly progressive sign of healing. You could see this one is very specific. This one is more of an indication of use because this device specifically targets one focal targeted area on the body and provides a magnetic field parameter that has been shown to produce this result to a certain level of efficacy. Now you can see how these three devices would all go. They're all PEMF devices, but it is all on what the manufacturer designed the device to do. Is it a specific device that is used to treat a recognized disease or illness in a large population, like the lower right-hand corner, or it is more of a device that can be focused on treating the body as a holistic and understanding that from examples of nature, how the body does resonate with various energies, you will have more flexibility and can potentially achieve the same objectives. And let me go into that real quick. Intensities. A lot of the times, the medical devices or intensities you'll see in hospital-like settings are derived because you can think of this analogy. Say it's a Saturday afternoon, it's a beautiful day, and you want to go to this little town you know because you want to pick up this specialty item that they make in the little local town. So you and whoever you love to go on car rides with, get in the car and decide to stop at some other places, maybe flea markets, but you're going to get to this store eventually. You have no specific time requirements to be anywhere, but with the duration as time goes, you will eventually get to that point. That is kind of how you can explain a low intensity versus a high intensity. High intensity is like, we're getting to that shop at 11:45, we're spending 15 minutes, we're turning around, we're going home, and everything will be done by 2 p.m. So you have to push things in order to get the results you need to fit that time frame. Because one thing we all know we don't have in a healthcare setting is time. Things need to happen. We need to know how they have to happen. There has to be protocols and dosages. When you're treating with a magnetic field, you are sending energy and eddy currents into the body and can get lots of different benefits from the applications and the intended uses of these devices. So you always want to make sure you look at the operator's guide, take a look at what type of device are you looking at. Also, how does the user want to use it? The device over here on the left with the intended use in purple has multiple applicators and can effectively be positioned to treat multiple areas. The device on the bottom right here is a specifically designed device that is worn to target an area. It cannot be laid on, it cannot be put in a seat. It is a specific piece of equipment that is designed to treat this specific indication of use. So you always want to keep that into the frame of mind as well. Is this something that I'm going to be looking at using it for 3, 4, 5, 6 years? Or is it like the bottom right-hand corner where it is only something that's going to be worn for maybe 9 to 12 months? So that is how you would take any medical device that someone has questions on or would like you to compare to this, and how you would officially, professionally, and per regulations based on what these manufacturers said to the legal authorities and regulators that their devices do. And that is how you can compare the 2 or 3 or how many devices you're taking a look at. And you can even create a binder to be able to show them how all of this and, effectively be able to compare them just like that. and challenge anyone who goes outside of the norms, unless they are a medical doctor, an MD, a DO, and have the ability to off-label a device, or if they've got approval from the FDA to do so, that's great. Then they would have to show that documentation. But if somebody is stating benefits, health claims that is outside the intended use or indications of that device, that is a red flag, and you could show them and you can educate them on how they are incorrectly presenting that, or did something change that I would be interested in knowing about. But they may not know that is how you actually compare devices on a professional level and accurately, because you are treating your community with respect. You are treating the people who you serve with respect by providing them proper information so they can make an informed consent about what type of PMF they would like to use. So I hope that provided everybody a little bit of information and also provides some simplicity to comparing devices. Anyone can do it. Just ask for a copy of the operator's guide or owner's manual, and you'll be able to compare that device. There was one other piece of information that was interesting research that was done here in Central Florida and at the University of Tampa. It was with 14 college runners. So it wasn't a big population group. It was 14 people. And this study wanted to see if PMF technology in combination with elevated preseason training resulted in some type of benefits for people who are attending any type of short-term training camps. So this was a great pilot study to illustrate how these devices are gaining more credibility, more acceptance into the market, where you have the Department of Health Sciences and Human Performance at the University of Tampa. You have the Faculty of Psychology, Education, and Sports Science in Barcelona, Spain. You have the University of Central Florida in Orlando, the Department of Internal Medicine, all looking at, if we take these intended uses, would they provide complementary integrative benefits to the outcomes results in which we are trying to establish or facilitate. And what they're finding is that these PMF devices that are generally distributed over the internet and without generally medical supervision are able to do a lot of the same mechanism of actions and achieve the same benefits as the commercial devices done in the different types of research. And if any of you have any type of connections or ability, this is a great pilot study as an example. And again, it took 14 people. I think the original group had 16, 2 dropped out, but they're not large population groups. A lot of people may have wellness centers, or they may have a practice, or they may work with somebody who has one of these facilities. And this is a great pilot study in order to show, okay, well, let's take a look at this. Maybe I would like to see how red light and far infrared at 50% and PMF at 100 and all facilitate what type of changes. So I'm going to send these 2 research papers to Terry. All of them were done recently in 2021. And then she can forward them to anyone who may have some interest. So I'll do this one. Also, the therapeutic application of light and electromagnetic fields to reduce hyperinflammation triggered by COVID-19. That's the specific title that these researchers submitted. So I'll send over these to Terry if any of you'd like to take a look at them for any type of further interest.